Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is the Crypto Hipster, Jamil Hassan, and it's been a couple weeks since I've had a podcast, and I enjoyed the break, and now I'm back at it, and I have an amazing guest. I interview, founders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, executives all over the world, and today I have, like I said, an amazing guest, Julian Rodriguez, the founder of Momento NFT. Julian, welcome.
Hey, Jamil. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for breaking my drought. This is great. So bear markets do crazy things. But so my first question is to kick things off is ask you what is your background and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I would definitely say so. I've been in crypto for a really long time. So I guess I started my crypto journey about 2012 and with Bitcoin. And in 2013, I ended up working with Vitalik Buterin directly, actually. So back then, he was the co-founder of the Bitcoin magazine, and I worked for him there. And I was a senior in college. I believe he was a sophomore. But he was. I think that's why he became who he is today. I mean, he just had so many insights in all the projects that were happening early on, and we released the Ethereum white paper as a six-page spread in the Bitcoin magazine in 2014. And yeah, I mean that was his magnum opus, right? It was at the time. It was super I would say revolutionary in terms of the only thing that really existed was Bitcoin, right? There were maybe two other sort of projects that were trying to get off, like grow, which was kind of like Litecoin, which we knew was just a copy of Bitcoin, and then this idea of Mastercoin. And so Vitalik wrapped sort of all the other sort of smaller projects, colored coins, counterparty, into this idea of like an OS of blockchain. And so, yeah, being in the middle of all of that, was definitely changed the way that I saw technology or its use, right? But I didn't jump right into crypto after that. I think in 2014, New York City, I'm in New York. New York City became a very dangerous place for crypto and crypto ideas. Ben Losky passed the bit license. And so it was really hard for startups or anyone trying to make a business out of crypto or blockchain to get started, particularly in New York City. So I looked towards Silicon Valley, and I just got into traditional, right, Silicon Valley startups, nothing to do with crypto. And I founded my first company in 2016. And yeah, I mean, I cut my teeth there as an entrepreneur, and learned how to manage a balance sheet, hire, right, and make sort of all the mistakes that I think all entrepreneurs should make, right, or have to make. And yeah, I mean, I think in 2020, it just became obvious that people were finally interested in digital ownership, right? They were spending more time online, and sort of now it was like, what will they do with these sort of increasingly online lives? And that's where the idea for Momento NFT came.
Great. So actually I have a couple follow-ups from that first question is you said that the mistakes that entrepreneurs must make. I feel like I made a million of them. What do you consider the ones that we must make?
So I think the mistakes you must make are really finding a co-founder. So I don't believe in solo founders. I I don't think that I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's healthy for you as an entrepreneur, and for the company, right? I think that you really, really have to figure out who you can work with, what type of person you can work with, and that, I mean, the payback there to be able to just, share the burden, share the vision, and share the gains with just at least one other person, I think is right. You'll learn more about yourself in that process, right? And again, I mean, right, just being able to pick and filter and have good people around you, I think it just benefits, right? So I would say that, right? I think, in my last startup, it was someone who I believed would have been perfect, and we were childhood friends, right? So there's no reason why that should have gone wrong. But then you began to see different pressures. I don't think it was anything necessarily our clash of personalities, but the real world pressure of starting a business, right? The real world pressure of having competition, of running out of money, of trying to figure things out, right? I think it really does show you who you are and the strengths and weaknesses that you need moving forward, right? So like, I feel like now I'm prepared for that situation if it ever happens again, right? And I know how to contextualize it and really think it through. I understand now how there are a lot of reports that, right, being an entrepreneur is psychologically or mentally, emotionally difficult. And I can see how if you were not prepared for that situation, it could get ugly, right? And so now I'm just thankful for that opportunity to have that failure, to be able again to put into proper context. I think the other stuff is the other mistakes is also hiring, right? Like everybody you hire isn't going to be a perfect fit for what you're doing, or for you, right, or for your team, or maybe the culture that you're building. And so I think picking up experienced junior, people overseas, just hiring and bringing people in and speaking about the vision. The more you do that, the better you get at it, right? It's just kind of like one of those things. Uh, and then I think I think running out of money is a pretty good lesson, right? Like, because like once you do that, especially after, like, let's say you have customers, you have traction, and you just can't get it to work. I think that that's something that you're just like, oh man, I'm never going down that road again, right? Like, I think you now know how much it stings, and that's just not a territory you're even going to get close to, right? So, and being able to look back and say, oh, we dropped the ball here. Oh man, I could have done this, I could have done that. I think definitely informs you, and makes you, it just hardens you, right? It's I don't want to use the war soldier analogy, right? But like, a soldier that goes on a second or third, fourth deployment, I mean, that guy's, things are blowing up in the background, and it's just whatever, So I think it's definitely that effect. And yeah, I think, right, mistakes are good. I mean, again, if I would suppose that if you're not having mistakes, if you're not encountering mistakes, you're probably not actually running a business. You're probably just like on some kind of side project that's on like autopilot, right? Like you're leaving something on the table because someone else is getting the gains. You're yeah, you're probably sort of on autopilot, and you're probably leaving 80% revenue on the table to someone else, some other partner, right? Or competitor. That's what I would say.
Thank you. That's really insightful. I appreciate it. And then I was a digital sponsor this year for the Litecoin Summit. And you said Litecoin was just a copy back then of Bitcoin. It's grown obviously over the years. Would you consider it just to be a copy, or would you consider it to be also a payment future?
Well, so copy in terms of, right, I mean, they came out, they used the SHA-256, right? It was very, very early, one of the, I guess, first altcoins. So I mean, in copy in terms of its usability, right? So it being able to be used as a payment, yeah, of course, right? I mean, that's what it came out to do, first and foremost. uh I think, Lee, his whole thing was, uh, not really. I mean, there wasn't really. It wasn't like, for financial gain, right, or personal financial gain. That was very clear from the beginning. I think he wanted to make something that was a little more accessible, right? Because the idea was that, like, there was no leadership at Bitcoin in the beginning. You didn't really know what was happening, or where it was going, who was controlling it. And I think today we can sort of see that, like, I mean, like, we're a decade in, over a decade in, and it's like we know no one, or right, it's a high probability no one's just going to come out of the shadows and say, haha, right, like pull the strings on everyone, right? But back then that wasn't really the case, right? We didn't really know what we were involved in, or how big it could get. And I think the idea about Litecoin was making it something easier, more accessible, right? And sort of lower that right, that learning curve. And so, because he was in Silicon Valley, right? He was a Silicon Valley engineer, right? And he's a very credible person, very transparent, very, clear person. But yeah, I mean, in terms of blockchain, they are all definitely, I think the majority of them, and I mean the majority of the 2000 that exist now, valid payment systems. But Litecoin, particularly because of how long it's been around and how much money is actually in Litecoin, would definitely be like, if you're not considering Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, right? Uh, you're I think you're probably barking up the wrong tree in terms of payments, right?
Yeah, I agree. So I don't want this to be a payment podcast. I want this to be a creator economy podcast, and because I know you're really into Momento NFT, you're founder of that. And so, first question I'm going to ask you is to get into that area is what is this creator economy we all hear about? Who's winning and who's not, and where are we headed, and where should we be headed?
Sure. So the creator economy really is kind of like the new Hollywood, right? So the idea is like back in the 40s, 50s, right? Uh, TV networks kind of just controlled what everyone was able to see on their TVs. And all of that was being shot in New York. And then in the 60s, 70s, moved to Los Angeles, right? And even today, uh, most of what happens in Los Angeles is for big screen, right? It's not small screen, right? It's not TV. And so, there were a handful of networks, NBC, right? ABC, right? And they staffed, hired, wrote all the messaging, and then had, brought in advertisers. And it is sort of, what we know of today. But the stars of entertainment and of media pretty much just come out of those two spheres: New York City, Los Angeles, right? And so what happened with the internet was it now allowed people to turn the camera on themselves and share with whoever they want, as many times as they want, wherever they want, right? And that was a revolution, right? That it just had never been possible. And as our cameras, our phone cameras get better and better and better, we see new types of right, application software available for you to, again, have that high quality, post production, right? I mean, it's just incredible things that we're doing now with filters and editing and things like that. And so what you saw was a younger and younger demographic deciding that, hey, I'm really good at entertaining. I'm either funny or interesting, or hey, these are these cool ideas, and I want to put them in a creative way and give them out to the world and see who likes it. And so, right, YouTube has been huge. I think YouTube is definitely the king of the creator economy. But every single platform has its nuances, right? And like its weaknesses, right? So, for example, one of the weaknesses of YouTube is it's long form oriented, right? And so a lot of people might not have the content or the brand for long form, right? And traditionally on YouTube, it has taken about 3 years to build your audience, right? And so that's very difficult to sort of get things going, right? And it seems more of like, okay, well, we have to grind and then get lucky, right? Where we've seen short form video platforms, specifically today, TikTok is like it's a viral kingmaker, right? Like every minute, right? Like if you have a profile on TikTok, you are guaranteed to go viral at least once in your lifetime, right? So it's a different way that they do things, but we saw a lot of this come from Vine, right? And so the Vine stars, Vine I believe came out in about 2012, and it was a project that was launched from inside of Twitter. And there were a lot of people on it. There were a lot of people on it. And today, some of the biggest influencers in the creator economy actually came from Vine, right? Logan Paul, right? Those are all Vine people. And so they've changed the way that people are thinking about careers, right? So over the past 3 years, if you ask the average American, person under college age, what they want to be when they grow up, the number one answer was YouTube star, right? Like it wasn't astronaut, wasn't a firefighter, wasn't lawyer, doctor. It was, YouTube creator. And at first, I remember when I heard that stat, right, a couple of years ago, I thought, man, they just want to be popular, right? Like that's so silly, right? They just want to be popular. But no, what they're really talking about is like it's the equivalent of saying, I want to be a movie star, right? That's really what's going on. And so the creator economy is about how you can monetize your brand around the things that you can sort of give out to the world, right? Again, whether that's entertainment or interesting or creative content, right? It's really just something has to fill the void, right? Everybody has a camera. Everybody has incredible storage capacity right in their pockets, right? We are in the age of high-speed internet. Something has to fill the void of media and entertainment and content, and that is the creator economy.
A big part of this new creator economy is NFTs, right? So, what are these NFTs from your perspective, and how can people start to make them part of their everyday life?
Yeah, so that's right. That's the interesting part. So like, where's all this going, right? Like, so we're sort of beyond, what we call Web 2, right? Where it's Web 2 is just allowed people to create a profile and post content, right? They represent themselves through a pseudo avatar, and they post the content, right? Traditionally, what Web 2 platforms have done is they've monetized that attention that you create, right? So they run ads against your fan base, against your likes, against your views, right? And your audience is now, I don't know, watching an ad for detergent, right before you come on and talk about, right, global history or you do a choreographed dance, right? It's a mix match, and it doesn't really incentivize creators to continue to be creative on brand. And so what we're seeing now is the transition into 2.5, and ultimately where we want to take it fully into Web3, which Web3 is all about ownership, right? And so when you own something, you can monetize something because it's yours, right? We do this in the real world all the time, right? You own things, you can buy and sell them if you want because it's yours, right? And so what we believe at Momento NFT is that content creators should be able to monetize their content directly, right? It's not about running ads. It's about getting out to your community that you've already built, that you've already fostered, or that you know is there, and telling them, hey, right, this is how much I think this piece of content is worth. And then we give them a tool set to attach other things, right? It's just not digital collectibles, but hey, maybe join a live stream, with me. Maybe get some merch, right? Maybe come and meet me, right? We're sort of, right, like all of that has been absent from Web 2. Right? Web 2 has really been edited and polished pictures or videos that are right here, here today, gone tomorrow. There's no real attachment, right? Where before, if you think about like the 80s and 90s, there were fan clubs, 1-900 numbers, right? The sort of B star, A star, superstar conventions. They seem to kind of be coming back because people want those experiences, right? And that has been largely absent from the internet. So we're giving creators an opportunity to monetize their content, right? Which again, we've seen the phenomena of Patreon, OnlyFans with gifting and tipping, right? We're bringing that together with the in real life experiences, right? That again, just haven't been on the internet at all. Yeah.
So your average person is not necessarily a content creator, right? They might have a talent that is creative, but they haven't been a content creator. So how can they, join the creator economy with through these NFTs, and how can they get involved?
Yeah, so we're a curated platform. We give out blue check marks, right? But essentially, we don't intend to replace Web 2. We are what we believe is the most powerful tool for the content creator. So I guess the flow or the idea there would be build up your community organically, right? Because this is the best way to do it. And so you can get on a platform like TikTok or Instagram, build up your followership, have that content, right? Everybody's got to put in work, right? Nothing is going to be snap your fingers, I'm rich tomorrow, right? So you put in the work in Web 2, and, sure, I guess, those businesses make money off running ads, right? But the minute that you feel like, wow, I hit my stride here, right? I've got 100,000, I don't know, 200,000 followers, right, on sort of multiple platforms, then I would suggest you come over and make NFTs, right? Because now you have an audience, you have super fans, you have fans that want to consume your content and want to support you financially, right? Like that's just a reality, right? Like that's what fans do, right? I'm a huge Mets fan. I spend an inordinate amount of money every season to watch them lose. Right. But I keep doing that. And so I think that's what fans do, right? And so the idea there is, right, you then come with us, right? You set up your profile, and we help you figure out how to monetize your audience.
I'm a Phillies fan, so hopefully we can win. But
Yeah.
I had before crypto winter, the first crypto winter, I had Jet season tickets and PSL for a number of years, and then crypto winter hit, and then I no longer had that PSL.
Right.
So yeah, right. So how can we? This has been a buzzword. And an article came out today. The Silicon Valley executives don't believe in it, but they're across the world. They're building this metaverse. That's more than just a buzzword. It's a buzzword here, but buzzword. It's not a buzzword in Asia. It's actually something. So how can we leverage NFTs in the real world, and then also in the metaverse?
Yeah, so I guess I want to mention something that just came to mind when you said this. So I think that blockchain and crypto is a very Western idea, right? And so a lot of the implementations, free, open, transparent. I mean, we're pushing the borders even of Western laws and regulation, right? We see that every day. So when you take those ideas and you put them over into the Eastern world, that have very borderline authoritarian regimes, right? You see the friction immediately, right? There's a huge contrast and a huge sticking point for especially the younger population to gravitate to, right? I mean, there are real world reasons why they would want to build metaverses and use blockchains, right? I mean, a lot of the younger generation uses VPN as a default. Most people in the US don't even know what a VPN actually is, right? So like that's where you begin to see sort of the difference, right? And so yeah, I would totally expect people in China or Southeast Asia to take this stuff to a different level, because it's not just a speculative, interesting new idea. It's not just an innovation. It's something that they actually really need, right? So yeah, I mean, the thing with metaverses or the metaverse. So I particularly don't think there's going to be one metaverse. I don't think there's going to be one clear winner. It's not like that the movie, right? Ready Player One, right? It's not going to be like that. I mean, a company like that would literally take over the world. Right? They would be a new government. They would have to have an army to protect their servers with actual guns and stuff, because like that would revolutionize society. And maybe not necessarily for the best, right? For the better. So what I think we're going to see is siloed multiverses that create interesting experiences, that have partnerships with content creators, with different types of creators. And then what we might see is NFTs used as interoperable devices, right? Or property amongst all blockchains. There has to be something tying them together, right? But like, look, at the end of the day, human civilization is not good at this grandiose one united idea anyway, right? It's been like 8,000 years, we haven't figured it out, right? Like, the European Union is like really fractured, right? Like we get the US, Canada, Latin America, right? Nothing that we do is like one monolithic thing. And so I don't think that the metaverse is going to be one monolithic thing. But I think that there's going to be clear ways that we can all work together. And that's why we decided to really just empower content creators. I think the metaverse, we as a business aren't really ready for that. But we have some ideas of how we can help the metaverse be a place that's inclusive, that everyone can participate in.
So I want to have another question that follows up from there, but I want to back. Yeah, I want to backpack. I want to I want to backpack across Asia. I want to backtrack. You made a distinction that I hadn't heard anybody else ever make, and it is, you didn't define Web 2 and Web 3. You said Web 2.5, right?
Yeah.
So what is this Web 2.5, and where are we at right now, and how do we get the half out of there and go to 3? What's your take?
Yeah, so Web 2.5, we're definitely here, right? So Web 2.5 are platforms like Patreon, OnlyFans that are really geared towards you get to subscribe to your content creator, right? So it's not a direct monetization necessarily based on content. It's more of like a support membership, right? And so on some other platforms, even YouTube, before they sort of copied short form video from TikTok, was really all about tipping. They experimented with tipping and gifting, right? So this was stuff that YouTube never encouraged, Twitter never encouraged, right? I'm sorry, Facebook never encouraged, Twitter never encouraged, right? And so that's where you can see the break really sort of came from. And so what Web3 is, right, we're taking it a step further, where it's really ownership over the content itself, pricing of the content itself, right? Where we hope to go is really, creating content as an asset class, but where that content could be priced, bought, sold, and borrowed against, right? If these moments really have social currency, they're going to be no different than a stock or, right, some equity in real estate. That's where we ultimately want this to go. And Gen Z seems game for it. They that makes total sense to them, right? And so that's where I think Web3 is. But yeah, Web2 is pretty much here, right? It's Web2 is really, if you had to define it, it's everything you can't do on Facebook, right? Because Facebook was definitely obsessed with keeping it, I'm just going to run ads against your attention, right? And so everything else that you can do, yeah, even Cameo, right? Cameo, you literally pay people for requests, right? Twitch, we're starting to see that, move towards making money, generating money in the live stream, right? Where the content creator, what they had to do in Web 2 was really just use those numbers and go try to cut a side deal with a brand separately off platform, right? That's the only way they're really monetizing. They're going up to like a fashion brand or something saying, hey, look, I've got, 2 million followers on Instagram. Can you please pay me? And then it's a negotiation, there's contracts, and, but it had nothing to do with Facebook, right? Nothing to do with Instagram. And so that's a very, that's not scalable. And it's a very usury type relationship. So, right, the platforms are moving away from that, but we believe that there's still a little more that could be done. And that's where we bring in Web3.
And that brings me into my next question, because you've been talking about ownership and social currency and community, and how can we use these NFTs to build our communities and get that ownership of what we create? Because some people are able to do it right now, but in a decentralized world, we should all be able to do it. So how do we do it?
Yeah, so ownership is the strongest incentive for community building, right? Like if people don't feel like they own a piece of something, they don't really care about that thing, right? It's a total different level. And so that's why I was mentioning the subscription model is not enough, right? On OnlyFans, for example, you see a lot of churn, right? People will sign up for 1 month, they get the entire catalog, right? If you've been on the platform for 2 years, well, now they see 2 years of content. They can spend one day, right clicking and saving, and they forgot about you, right? Like they don't put it on auto renewal, they move on to the next creator. That's not a situation we want to create because we don't believe there's real value there. But when you make a purchase decision, right, for content, and you're able to buy multiple pieces of content, it's just a better exchange for time and value creation, right? The time that the content creators spent on that one piece of content, they know how much they want back for it, right? They know how many people they want to own it, right? And so it's just a totally different metric that we believe, again, incentivizes not only the creator to make better quality content and get it out, but for the fans and the followers to collect and invest as well in that content creation. So we're also we'll also be launching a token next year to incentivize even more the way that you build your community in Web3, right? So you can imagine everything from so we want to allow the creator to recruit members in their community for growth, right? Hey, and we saw a very popular, controversial influencer actually do that about 6 months now. This guy, Andrew Tate, which, I don't agree with pretty much anything he says, but we've all seen him, right? And a lot of people are like, wow, how did he do this? All he did was recruit members in his community to pretend they were him, right? They're using his brand and proliferating that, right? And so that's something that, for whatever reason, is something so simple, for whatever reason, no one on the internet has done before, right? And so the algorithms don't have an answer for that, right? So that's why they try to ban him widespread, but they banned his profile. He doesn't do anything on his profile, right? He employed his community to do this for him. And so, right, I think that's, oh man, that's like a 101 strategy from now on for content creators going forward, right? And so we're going to empower the ability to do things like that to employ your community. And so, yeah, I mean, we're gonna throw all of those things in your pocket. So we're gonna see how this generation makes the internet a little funner, right? Because I think a lot of these mega platforms, these mega Web2 platforms, have really made the internet not as fun. And to me, it's really like in terms of what the internet was like early 2000s, right? It was really green pastures, right? And there are ways to handle, I think, abusive content, negative content, right? And conversation, but I don't think it's the way that has been handled so far. To me, the way things have been handled so far is more akin to censorship and authoritarianism than it is, right? Just right, like it's weird. It's weird, and I don't believe that that's the foundation of what the internet was. Because me and you can remember what the internet was like when it started, right? And I would hate for the internet to not be like that anymore, right? This idea that, right, you can get sort of in trouble or take the wrong corner on the internet, to me is ludicrous. I think there's certain things that the administrators of a platform can do to not be so heavy-handed that people feel like they can't even express themselves, right? And I see a lot of that on like Reddit, for example. I absolutely hate Reddit. Reddit took over from what traditional BB forums were, right? The grayscale bulletin board forums. And before that, IRC chat probably, right? But IRC chat was definitely like the Wild Wild West. But, and I think today, really what you see on Reddit, for example, is whoever, I guess, put up the R channel or whoever is the moderator, only what they want to be posted is what's seen. Right. So if it's supposed to be a place where people can go to get information and participate in conversation. But if you're just saying something that the moderator does not like, no one sees it. Right. And so I don't think that is what the internet was designed for. And I don't think it helps humanity in general and what it means to, right? Because I look to the internet to learn about the world around me, right? And if now what I'm seeing is a sort of, whitewashed carbon copy of the real world, that's just not good enough for me. Sorry,
I want
that's a little rant about putting
no.
my flag
You
in the
brought up
ground.
something. You brought up something that I wasn't going to ask you about, but I am because I've seen some really harsh critics about crypto on Reddit recently. And when you peel back the onion, these people have never worked in their life, but they're bashing Bitcoin or bashing Web3,
Yeah,
and they have no experience working whatsoever. And that's the
right.
content they're allowing. How do you create a level playing field? Because like critics, like Teddy Roosevelt said, the critic doesn't count. So how do you tell people, number one, they don't count, and number two, how do you get a level playing field?
No, so that's what I'm saying, right? I think we need real people with real voices on the internet, right? What you're mentioning right now is just a small channel of, like what you said, like probably people who've never worked or had experience doing sort of anything, but they are now the curators and moderators of the entire internet conversation, right? So it's not productive. Um, and again, I mean, right, if you had the ability to hear directly, right, that's why sort of on Reddit, the only things that are kind of good are those AMAs, right? Because that is a real person that is talking and in real time and discussing, right, or representing himself, right? So Reddit is particularly designed to, like, never allow that at full scale, which is why I don't feel like Reddit is a good platform. But we have the opportunity to do that, right? You now see the person represented in a profile. We verified him, and you can see content coming from him. And we do short form video, so it's video content, right? It's this person talking about these things, and there I think is just a better form of conversation, right? Twitter was able to get through to it, even though it only uses text, right? They have blue check marks. You kind of know who they are. There's a lot of transparency, right? Um, so it's not. I only said that because we do video, but it's not just like it's video is the solution, because Twitter is able to still get that message out. There just seems to be something about Reddit that is just unsettling when it comes to honestly free speech. And I want to say free speech because it's not even free speech in the traditional way that we think about it, right? They're not really like encroaching in that way, politically, right, speaking, but it is harming the general communication of people, especially if they're trying to discover an idea. And I think that that's what happens when you build something that's too much of a monolith, right? uh, yeah, I am very as you can tell, I'm not a Reddit supporter.
Understood. And then other question. I interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, and this was the first time that I actually paid attention to this term, although I probably had heard it before. Is churn, and you said churn. What's churn, and what's the problem with it, and how do we move forward in the Web3 economy with churn?
So churn is the basic concept that, for example, let's say you have users, right? If your users don't come back, they've churned, right? So it's pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much that idea. So when I mentioned it, I'm really talking about the subscribers to a content creator, right? Well, they'll be a subscriber for 1 month, but they'll leave and they never come back. So the rate of how many people are doing that is the churn rate. And again, on OnlyFans, particularly, it is extremely high. Right. So I don't think even for those content creators, it might not be psychologically the best experience either. Right. They put so much effort. Maybe they have one thing that uh, they promoted or that got them out there. Everyone floods in for the 1 month, and then the next month, regardless of what they do, right, they're down like 80%, right? I'm pretty sure that if you put all your heart and soul in those 30 days or leading up to those 30 days into your content, into your personal brand, that would be devastating, right? Like it would make it seem like your audience, not just the public, but your direct audience is telling you that you suck. And that is not the case at all. what they're doing is they're trying to work around the financial right hooks of a monthly subscription. Right, it's just a monthly subscription is difficult to manage. Right, it's not something you kind of want to be in. Right, especially if you have a way to opt out. Right, and so I think humans are much more transactional. I think we've psychologically internalized for thousands of years, you know, you want this, give me this, and I'll give you this, right? I think we know how to process that a little better. And so, you know, that's what we want to put out there.
Awesome. So I know you're in Miami, and it's about 10:40, so I get warm outside, and you have a conference to attend. And I want to thank you very much for your time today. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I enjoyed speaking with you. And I have one last question,
Sure.
and it's this: is how can people find out more information about you, about Momento NFT? How can they get involved? How can they, how can they do any of that?
Yeah, guys, please download the app. We're on Apple and Android. We're live. Please download the app. It's Momento Space NFT. You can visit our website, Momento, Momento, NFT.com. Sign up to our Discord if you want to sort of chat with us and the rest of the team. We've got a pretty big Discord. And yeah, come and check it out and see. I mean, we have about 2,500 content creators right now. Everything from digital artists to athletes to influencers. There's a lot of people having a lot of fun. So if you want to sort of see a little more of where the creator economy is going, please. I mean, we try to make it as open as possible, right? So please download the app, sign up as a user. You can start making your content right now. So and me, I mean, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. A couple users have found me on LinkedIn to suggest features that they want to see, right? So my inbox is always open. And yeah, please, any ideas, any additional ideas, anything that you think that we should build to help content creators, let us know. I mean, we love that kind of stuff, right? Because if it makes sense to you, I guarantee you, it's probably a couple thousand people who want that as well. So yeah, please, please download the app and reach out.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much. This was great.